Are we recording? We are recording. All right. As the screen freezes, Scotch tape, scissors, and all, welcome back. Digital art on the blockchain. My name's Adrian Pocobelli, Artist Journal, January 27th, 2025. Waking up. Broadcasting into the unknown from Berlin, Germany, and it continues. An improvisation of sorts as we continue our journey here down the street, down the freeway of our minds here, with this gorgeous work by zooo, which had to win the Creativity of the Weekend Award for me. Just wonderful creativity here. And interestingly, of course, zooo out of Argentina, I think Buenos Aires, if I'm not mistaken. And it's, the creativity of using the traffic signs, and it's maybe not the first time you've ever seen it, but it is, it's not something you see every day. Let's put it this way. In digital art as subject matter, it's just a very fun subject matter. Because, of course, when you put it this way, when you read all these books, which I haven't done for 20 years, on, obnoxious books on post-structuralism and whatever else, or, like the beginner's guide to, oftentimes you'll see the signs, street signs as being your kind of, classic example of, and I hesitate to say the word, of semiotics, signs, okay, sign is a sign, okay, great. But as an example of this kind of signification and being able to divide, I almost want to restart this show because I don't even want to go there. But the whole signification and signs, and put it this way, let me simplify it. The street sign can be a metaphor for meaning, for signification, right? And there's my simple take on it. And so it's kind of a wonderful thing that zooo has done here to take your kind of classic freeway sign, which I might add, as many of you know, I've been doing a lot of traveling. And one of the interesting things about the more you travel and the further you go, weirdly, the more the same everything starts to look. And I would say this kind of sign, I'm sure, exists in Argentina. It exists in North America. It exists in Europe. I'm sure it exists in Asia. When I was in Bangkok, it was like, it's just, I found it remarkably, for all of the differentness, what really surprised me was the similarity. This is a world of Starbucks, nightclubs, and malls, right? It's almost like Europe is more exotic in some respects, in terms of, you get the old world Europe and these old medieval castles. But I mean, surprisingly, and I'm exaggerating in everything, but all to say, this kind of green highway sign is not unique, say, to the freeways of North America. Let me just put it that way. It is, I would argue, a global structure, visual structure, traffic or highway structure. And so, it's a beautiful, way of framing, a setup, an outline. It's a beautiful structure to use in order to, a launch pad, so to speak, to put visual meaning in, so to speak, your images as an artist, and it's beautifully executed as well. Like, again, when I looked at it, and I should actually turn on the volume here. Let me turn on the volume. It's just wind, interestingly. So again, just a beautiful, poetic, and brilliantly executed way of, framing these kind of elements of digital art, so to speak. Some of them, I feel like I even recognize, like this flower going across, are these reused elements, but reframed in this traffic instructions, traffic sign, highway sign, of sorts, overhead of drivers. Interesting as far as the actual lines on the road. I guess it's a 3-lane highway, but it almost looks like a one. The spacing is maybe a little. It's interesting spacing. Let's put it that way. And interestingly, I think we see a sea in the background, and some clouds here. Interestingly, where they're almost, you can see like there's a little bit of white around, almost as if they're selected. The sky is selected and removed, and then you just have the cloud, but there's still a little bit left over in the selection, but then keeping that, perhaps, is one way of looking at it. And even finally, look at in the background, these big cubes of pixelated kind of clouds and sky coming in over top of this flat, cerulean blue here. So very interesting. And finally, the grass, beautifully executed. So all to say, a gorgeous piece here, a wonderful piece from zozo. Art as traffic signs. Thank you for summarizing it beautifully. What I've been trying to say here for going on 6 minutes, art as traffic signs. It's the idea, and the execution is excellent as well. But what a great idea. Zozo continues to inspire over here, and there's nothing like an inspirational image. And for me, this is awesome. So nice way to get started here. Available on Object, Tezos. That'll be $8.29 or 8 Tezos. So the price of Tezos is coming down. And actually, quick show note. I think I'm going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I did the daily thing, but it does start to become a lot. And what I feel like it gave me, though, is it trained my mind to learn how to make a shorter show. Weirdly enough, that was a big challenge. And so now that I've trained myself to make a shorter show, now I think I'm going to go back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I think that'll be, and then we'll still do the spaces on the Wednesday as well. So I think I'll do that, so to speak. And speaking of spaces, we actually have, let's just see, we have Absurdeity here. Huge collector, as you saw just down here. And actually, another show note, I'm going to try with this extra time on Thursday, for instance, to do this starter video. So that people, like our friend, I think it was Ordinary Hand, so I have time, really, to make a starter video for people to get started who are just interested in digital art. Maybe they're artists, painters, who look over and go, well, I like digital too. Like maybe I want to be involved, but they just have no idea how it works. As all of us did before we figured it out, and it's, there's a learning curve. But it's actually quite simple once you understand what's going on. So I think on Thursday, that is my goal, is to put out the first kind of starter video. But before that, we have Absurdeity, huge collector, as we see here, picking up a work here from Zozo, huge collector on Tezos and otherwhere and elsewhere. And it should be a great conversation, big enthusiast, also makes art. Has posted a few on Rodeo, and I think maybe on Object too. Cool person. Looking forward to the discussion here. Let us go let's just see. This did really well, by the way. Thanks for the huge support out there in YouTube land. Maybe I should be thanking the algorithm too, but I'm sure the likes help. 59. I think, it's interesting. I think the title helped as well. And yeah, so interesting results. That's pretty good. Almost 1,000 views there. Let's look at the comments quickly. Manidal, the brilliant colorist and pixel artist who did that gorgeous work. I looked at it again today, and I was just kind of gazing at it this morning. Thank you so much again for your kind words and support to my Meow art, as always. My absolute pleasure, Manidal. Demmed Woods, love this episode, especially the comment section. So many amazing takes. Thank you. Really appreciate that. It's great to hear from you. Marcel Munciano, poetic exploration of software. Love this explanation of the process. Personally, for me, this describes what I'm trying to do with Deluxe Paint much better than the way I've been trying to explain it. Thank you. Indeed. It is quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah, we're distinguishing using deluxe paint today versus back in the day. Yeah, and the paradigm shift, really, which occurred. And now we go with a much more poetic, artistic. It's interesting again, like, and I kind of explained this all last episode, but how the signification, the meaning, so to speak, of pixels it changes in a sense, or like of pixel art, or like these big chunky pixels. It's changed over time, I would argue. Or this aesthetic appreciation for it has taken on new dimensions over the decades, interestingly. And so now is much more, fresh pasture, so to speak, for poetic exploration. Thanks for the comment, Marcel. District 468, thanks, Adrian. Love your answer to Ordinary Hand. Yeah, so now I need to act on this. So Thursday is the goal, is the date I'm aiming for to get out that first video. Denholmes Pearsons, oh yeah, awesome to hear from you. Thank you, Tom Bombattle, awesome to hear from you. Rap Ben, great to hear from you. Maybe some new viewers here. I see unfamiliar names. Benjamin Santiago Stuff. Damn, from the thumbnail, I thought this was going to be Nathan Fielder talking about pixel art. I had to look up Nathan Fielder. Hilarious. I guess a famous comedian actor. So anyways, hilarious. Well, I hope you still enjoyed it, Benjamin. Great to have you. You're in Yakon. Thanks very much for the nice video and your thoughts about color and painting. I would also really like a video about how to make on-chain minting on Tezos. So I've never actually done this. First, I'm going to start with Bitcoin, where I actually have done it. So that's probably going to be the second video, and then maybe someone can show me. I know Tornado's done it. And I don't think it's rocket science. I think they have forms now where it's almost as... I wish Object would put that in. They should have on-chain minting. Maybe it's more complicated than that, though. I'm not sure. Continue on, Illusion T. If rodeo works for someone, it works, especially if they want exposure, but it's not working for my idea of having my own contract and making the artwork for impact and money. Tezos is seen. So, yeah, and I totally agree. If people want to use rodeo, we still have some works here, but they continue to diminish, interestingly. And so... yeah, I mean, I feel exactly the same way. There's nothing wrong with using it, and we see Gogolitis just made like 900 mints there. That starts to turn into money, real money. Maybe, what is that, times 17 cents, like $170, let's call it. So thank you for totally agree. Gogolitis, hey Adrian, can you see my message? Yes, I can, Gogo. Sometimes, there are times when YouTube will hide the messages, and then you have to put like newest first. So thank you for mentioning, because it reminds me that I need to, sometimes messages are hidden, but most of the time they're not, as you see here. And I think this is Cider with a really nice comment here. If Pocobelli has 1,000 fans, I'm one of them. If Pocobelli has 1 fan, I am that fan. If Pocobelli has 0 fans, that means I have died. So Sid7288, thank you. I'm not positive that's Cider. I'm trying to remember. So let's call it CYD7288, whoever it is. Really appreciate that. It's really nice to hear the support of this community. Look at this. This is amazing result here. So again, huge thanks for the support. B, right, so in heaven everything is fine. Thank you, B. It's Eraserhead, and Pixies have a version too. And we heard from a few people. Let me bring that up. So thank you for that. So In Heaven, Everything is Fine is Eraserhead soundtrack. Worth tracking down if you've never heard it. Quite a beautiful song. So thanks for the comment there. And, oh yeah, starting the show with one and only Lee Scratch Perry. Absolutely. I would argue a talent on par with Miles Davis. Very famous, but not as famous as he should be. In a sense, to a certain degree, Bob Marley, I don't want to say stole his thunder, but really gets more attention. But I would say Lee Perry, and Bob Marley's an incredible songwriter. I mean, there's no question, right? But Lee Perry, who you see here, is, it's kind of like a once-in-a-century type talent in music, like I would argue, like incredibly important musician. Jan Lucas McGowan, great to hear from you and nice work. Thanks for Ed Woods. Thanks for showcasing my art on your stream today. I think we may have another one, but I'm not positive on that. as well as your kind words. Also, special thanks for collecting the football. Oh, right. No, we don't have another piece today, but I love that work. Absolutely love that work. Very nice. Looking forward to more. Gogolitis, how random is random? The great William Burroughs, sometimes great, not always. I think sometimes overrated and overly hyped, to be honest. But at the same time, when he's on, he's on. But I think people do overlook the moral aspect. He did shoot his wife, playing William Tell. I mean, I think sometimes that gets over glamorized, and even the heroin addiction and everything. Maybe that's me getting older. But all to say, this is this is classic William Burroughs at his finest. And of course, I follow Gogolitis. We have a few great works by Gogolitis this episode, exciting works. Let's continue. Strano. I believe the Collab Room 2 curated by Xerox could have had a little more attention. Great show nonetheless. And yeah, as I said here, you're probably right. I miss tons of stuff. As I say, it's like putting a hand out in a waterfall. And in a sense, especially since the new year, when I'm trying to shorten the shows, the new mission of the show, it's kind of like the old mission, is not to try and cover everything. It's not a news show. It is literally just me reaching out and finding whatever's interesting. Because if I was to try and be comprehensive with this, it would just be, first of all, I'd need to be paid. And second of all, I wouldn't want to do it anyway. It would be too much. So, but I appreciate, because there are things I overlook. So feel free. That's what the community is for, is put things on. It gets on my radar. I always check it before every show. So feel free. And so anyways, but thanks for the comment and everything. There are some nice works there, and I'm sure I missed a few. Skull Takes, happy Friday. Thanks for the show. The rodeo video of copyrighted material, right, that they minted and sold, by the way, kind of killed the vibes for me. Yeah, and this is almost a subject I want to come to in a few tabs here. I'm still collecting on rodeo here and there, but for the most part, the thrill is gone, unless Waffle drops, of course. Artists more important than platform. Yeah, I was joking. It's like UWD, unless Waffle drops. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know. I'm kind of, there's also the time issue. I know, and it's, MetaMask is pretty clunky. Like, I don't know if Tezos is any better, but MetaMask, like, for me to load that up, get to the page, and then make sure I have enough, like, ETH that's on base, or that maybe I needed to put on the layer 3. I can't even remember. It's a little, like, I think that's one of the big stumbling blocks of crypto is, like, in a sense, MetaMask was a revolution. It enabled people to kind of do more things, but in a sense, it's been a huge hurdle. It's like when the main thing I'll focus on in that video on Thursday is going to be like, this is how you get a wallet and the mentality around having a digital wallet. That is your login, all this sort of thing. Thanks for the comment. Gogolitis, you're absolutely right when you said at the start regarding pixelation. Something pixelated was often seen as low quality. Exactly. It reminds me that when I was a teenager, I was fascinated by Flash because it allowed you to animate without any pixelation at all, since it was vector-based. I thought it was incredible. Isn't it hilarious? And here's Gogolitis, big pixel artist. Kristen Roos, you have a good eye. So awesome. Hearing from Kristen Roos. The entire palette was by Sabato. We both used Deluxe Paint 4. I also have some of my Deluxe Paint work in the electric op that just ended at Buffalo AKG. That sounds like a nice institution. It's moving on to France now, which tied in with a lot of your commentary on Electric Dreams. And actually, I think awesome. The catalog for Electric Op is amazing, so I need to check this out. I highly recommend buying it. And here's the artist that we were discussing. Remember I was discussing last episode. This is great work. Susan Treister, 1991, 1992. Way ahead of her time, right? I mean, you could imagine this today. This looks like art on Tezos in 2025, using video game kind of iconography, vocabulary, visual vocabulary of video games, so to speak, to create compositions, these speculative, video game screens. Very, very, very cool artist here. Definitely my favorite. Harold Cohen was pretty cool at the Electric Dreams show. But I'd say I actually have a shirt of this. I should wear that. Maybe on Friday I'll wear this. They had shirts for sale when I saw it with RJ there. So anyways, you see just over and over. I wasn't a huge fan of how they displayed it. It was just on a TV. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be done, but I didn't love the display. Let us go back here. And so thank you, Susan Traister. Thank you, Kristen Roos, for pointing that out. Absurdity, welcome back, Adrian. Please let you know that you have no reason to ever apologize for a string of days without an artist journal. This is your gift to us. As a gift, it should give you both you and the receiver joy. If you start to feel stress or obligation to keep posting a schedule, I fear you may lose this joy. Yeah, and I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday is going to be perfect. Now that I've figured out how to do a shorter show, let's see. We're 20 minutes in. As a recipient of this gift, I have no expectations, only gratitude for when you choose to share the journal with us. I'm confident that I'm not the only one who feels this way. Well, thank you. Very nice of you to say, Absurdity. Huge supporter of digital art here on the blockchain. So thank you, and looking forward to chatting. I think that's going to be a super interesting discussion. If Absurdity ever bought from you, maybe you want to check out the space on Wednesday and hear what Absurdity has to say. I imagine there's a lot of people who Absurdity has bought some work from. This was hilarious. I actually posted this on Instagram. Thank you, Ernesto. Hilarious. There is the show. Yeah, so the show went over well. So thank you again for all the support and everybody, Tomba Battle, Dreamer, OXBench, and Sneps. Look at you, sir, onboarding normies. I'd love to see a how do BTC art video too. So that'll be video number 2. We'll see if pin stakes in the spam here. Okay. Right, and then so here are the so again, thank you for the support here on the show. Great to hear from you, Sabato, as well. So this is interesting, and it's very interesting what's going on here. So this is the art newspaper, and Saudi Arabia launches Digital Art Institute as part of $62 billion Diriyah complex, a vast new digital art institute. Are they going to spend $62 billion on an art institute? Diriyah Art Futures in Riyadh opened earlier this month with a cutting-edge labs and immersive exhibition spaces. And what I realized here, because actually I'm going to come back to this in a second, then we have MoMA announcing groundbreaking new digital art acquisitions. They put out a press release with artworks by Rafiq Anadol and Ian Chang. So, there's Rafiq Anadol again. And so I thought to myself, like, there's a war on for digital art is what I'm kind of coming to the conclusion to. At the end of the day, I think the art is going to win. But maybe, whatever the best art, it's sort of like, whatever the best idea is, Terence McKenna says, will eventually rise to the top. And I suspect that's true with art as well. However we decide that. But for art in our lifetimes, for digital art in our lifetimes at least, I'm starting to see it as actually, there are different competing views of what this means and what it is. And that in a sense, again, I'm almost wanting, because let's see what Saudi Arabia, let's just look a little bit. But I'm starting to see, it's a big deal, digital art, as you can see, in this $62 billion complex. I assume there's going to be more than digital art in this $62 billion complex. If not, could be boom times over here. And it may, in fact, be boom times coming. Let's just get a little bit of a taste. The new hub will play a pioneering role in developing and leading new art practices with a strong focus on education, production, and exhibitions. According to a project statement, maybe I should be sending a message and saying, maybe I should do a show from Riyadh, if they're interested. The vast new institute, located in the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Diriyah in northwestern Riyadh, is part of a larger complex funded by Government Sovereign Wealth Fund. Okay, so it's part of a larger complex. But nevertheless, it houses... Saudi Arabia is trying to be very next generation in many of their initiatives, whether it's moving over to, post-oil, and, I think they want to do EV vehicles. Here, they want to do cutting-edge labs and immersive exhibition spaces, audio video studios, a film studio, and post-production studios. Let's just look at the final quote here. from the Ministry of Culture of Saudi Arabia, or from it looks like from a press release. The MENA, the Middle East and North Africa region, is home to so many visionary artists and academics specializing in new media and digital art. As the first new media arts hub in the region, Diriyah Art Futures presents a much-needed platform to uplift their perspectives onto the global stage. We also aim to attract top talent from across the world into the Saudi cultural ecosystem, facilitating greater cultural exchange. So, the war, again, I call it the war for digital art. Because there's going to be all these competing interests, right? So it seems to me. Here's MoMA putting their vote in as to, okay, these are the people. These are the ones that we have to pay attention to. In a new online exhibition with Yoko Ono, OX Deaf Beef, right? So it always comes back to, how are these things being decided? Then you have, the Ethereum people, 6529. And this was kind of it was way too long for me personally. But there was some interesting, I'll read a bit of it though, and then we'll look at the Grok summary here. But on NFTs are network art. Already, one common piece of feedback from trad art museums, curators, and so on is along the lines of, quote, "We have been collecting and curating digital art for decades. We know this field, and maybe a few NFTs are good digital art. And many, of course, are terrible digital art, or even not art at all, but collectibles, really. So we are charmed that you're so excited about your digital art NFTs, but we've been excited about this field for decades." This sounds totally reasonable, but it is wrong. The fundamentally important things about NFTs is that they are digital art, but not that they are digital art, but they are network art. And then goes on to say that this art lives on the internet. And I thought it was a bizarre argument. Maybe it's relating to generative and specific art that is made using blockchain technology. But otherwise, I found it like it was closer to, it's trying to say, like, if you use the analogy of painting, this is gallery art. This isn't painting, this is gallery art. In a sense, like digital is the medium, whereas it feels like the medium and the distribution method are being confused, I dare say. Let's continue. Just quickly, though. So it's on computers. They've been defining technology for 50 years. Digital art has been interesting since the 60s. Right, and the museum curators are right. Digital art has been interesting since the 60s and is on its 5th generation. Algorithmic, generative graphics. So this is all, to me, it starts to get word salad-ish. A philosophical word salad, I would argue. And I take the point. There are these different kind of, ways of making digital art, but is it now we're in immersive and these other I think of generations as proceeding from each other. First of all, is one kind of leading to the next. And when I talk about, say, the second generation of digital art, which is how I describe most of the work that we see, if not all of it, on this program for the last, 391 shows, what I'm talking about is, Dr. Bill is first generation digital art. He's about 75. And the way that the first generation of digital artists had to make work was they had to code. They had to program the things. They didn't have a mouse. They didn't have a graphic user interface. And they didn't grow up with video games. And so that has a certain vibe. It's kind of more abstract. It's more, quote unquote, cool in the sense of it's not as expressive. So it's a little more geometric and, it's more basic in terms of, you could argue, although I'm sure some people would say it's very complex, but you know what I'm saying? And that this is qualitatively different from what I call the second generation, is like a new breed of people who really grew up with, digital visuals around them when they were kids. In fact, it's sort of like we describe people who grew up with the internet, but instead it was like with video games and Nintendo, right? In the 90s, let's say. And they also had with the introduction of the graphic use, the mouse and the, Apple's Mac, user interface, the GUI or graphic user interface, this was to use a cliche, this was a game changer, I would argue, because now you can, as I call it, paint with a computer. Okay, so to me, it's still, there's the first generation and the second generation, and I think I'm the only person saying this, as far as I know. I haven't heard anybody else say it. And so, so if this is what everybody's saying, to me, it's like, this is like the kind of thing you'd have to memorize to remember, because it's hard, because you'd have to, all this stuff to juggle, and it's like, it seems very labored. I'm not saying there's not different genres. Anyways, let's continue. All to say, NFTs may or may not have been made with a computer, but they definitely do not live on the computer. They live on the internet. And so this becomes the defining feature. So again, to me, this is mistaking the distribution with the medium. It's like really emphasizing, to use the physical art world, it's really emphasizing this is gallery art, art in an art gallery, rather than, oil on canvas or painting. This isn't painting, this is gallery art, is kind of my takeaway on this. And so it really focuses on the distribution as being the defining, and let's just look at Grok for... Finally, the post discusses NFTs as a form of network art, contrasting them with traditional digital art by emphasizing their existence on blockchain networks like Ethereum, not on individual computers. This distinction highlights their decentralized and public nature. So, yeah, again, so they're decentralized, they exist on the internet. I don't disagree that the distribution method is important. And I would actually argue the bigger issue, the reason why the distribution method is important, is because we have a free market of digital art now, where anybody in the world, especially after Thursday, can just load up the YouTube video on how to get their wallet on Tezos and how to get some Tezos in there and start uploading their work and get rewarded for it, or whatever your blockchain of choice is. That is the real revolution, which we've already seen out of places like Argentina and Turkey in particular. Let's continue. It's big. So it doesn't really, again, there's a lot said there, but it didn't really say that much, I would argue. And it actually was confusing things, dare I say. Continuing on, Luke 500. Rodeo is finally cooling down, and it's good in my opinion. Revenue-wise, they are doing well. So, again, I look at the secondary on that thing. I mean, it's kind of covered up there. $2,000 of secondary. I guess that's the second half of January. So, do we have... Now, do we have another image here, though? I think we do. We do. Oh, no. Here we go. Yeah, so this is what Luke is talking about here. As you see, so it'll be interesting to see at what point, so it is cooling off a little bit. The daily active posters, I was surprised to see that they brought in $367,000 of primary revenue. Maybe that's not crazy, but secondary, only $2,000. Interesting. Let's continue. Madeleine Dupont. As we hit the 33-minute mark, an artist should have their own personal growth strategy that involves clear goals and constant price growth upwards, not downwards. New opportunities do not always bring benefits. And I think this is especially true for blockchain world, where there's always like a new thing that's kind of coming along down the pipeline. And I kind of love this quote, there is too much information garbage. In a sense, there is too much, I kind of put it this way, that just resonated with me. And I just think a nice, interesting comment, and I think worth noting. Cableen. I came across a good number of artists who don't have any links in their bio. At times I thought maybe it's because they stopped selling their art, but then I looked at their feed and it's not the case. So if that's your case, if you don't want it to look like you are not open to sell your art, I advise you to use a link tree or the equivalent to add it to your X profile if you want collectors to find you easily. Indeed. And sometimes these are even anonymous accounts. Like, you have to consider, like, the more kind of links you have, also, it's the more like you can kind of trust this entity, and it's not just some random entity. And that it shows you're serious, right? So totally agree with Cape Lane. So RJ, so putting out a physical. Thrilled to share painting any home of mine has been collected by James Glode. To facilitate this, I've set up a new object wallet, RJ Physical. So I just wanted to say where I've minted a digital certificate of authenticity. So I've mentioned this on the show previously. And I actually need to do this. And I did mention I was going to call it Pocobelli Physical. So if you see me doing this, it is not me copying RJ, just so you know. I feel the need to say that because it'll look that way. And I have a ton of work, and I'll probably do it. Let's see. But I'm probably moving in October. Let's see. Still working that out. And so I'm going to need to get rid of stuff. So if you see that, just want to let you know, I've mentioned it on the show before in those exact words that I will do that. So anyways, cool work though. And interesting way of doing it by putting the certificate of authenticity on the blockchain. And there's a cool little mouse signature. Cool artwork there by RJ. Kyle Flemmer. Home office upgraded with a couple of prints from Walk 1. And, I just want to say, actually, on the whole copying front, as we have this war for digital art, and the reason I was actually going to mention it here, because it's a good use of it, because there's no art being copied here, and I'm not the first person to think of putting physicals. We've seen it, and I was like, is this going to be a trend? I kind of think it should be. But there is too much copying. I mean, let me put it this way, and I'm not talking about RJ here in this case, but what I see on the blockchain, I don't know if it's because of anonymous accounts. I don't know what it is, but I see shameless copying. And I do have to say it, it's been bothering me for months. And it's not one person, it's several. And I don't know why people think that this is okay. Taking other people's ideas, and again, I'm not talking about that situation. I'm not the first person to think about this. But I see, and when it's an anonymous account that will start taking other artists' ideas, and start using them. Like I've seen it in all sorts of genres. Like it's not unique. And I just think put it this way, just because people aren't saying anything doesn't mean they're not taking note. And I just think it's become way too accepted. And I think people will hide behind this idea of, it's CC0, so everything's available. But at a certain point, when you see it, it's obvious. And I've seen it so many times, whether it's someone copying a digital painter and using the exact same color of sky, right? Or whatever the case is, these very, poetic things that are just kind of lifted. And then, to me, something has to be said here. And the reason I mention this here is so there's no one specific being discussed. Because that's not the nature. I don't even want to have to talk about this. But it's so off-putting that I have to say something, because I think people will hide behind, but Picasso, mediocre artists borrow, but great artists steal, like this sort of thing. It's like, yeah, but what Picasso meant is you make it your own. That is quote unquote stealing. I see a lot of borrowing, to use Picasso's terminology, where you're just taking it. Dare I say, again, it's Monday morning here, as the coffee hits. And here, okay, let's look at some beautiful art. Actually, I don't want to miss this. Look at this. Kyle Flemmer picking up a couple of Walk 1 prints for the office. How rad is that? Very cool. Walk, a great talent here. And so anyways, if people have other opinions on the whole copy issue, feel free. I'm sure it's not, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discrimination. It should just be a free market. And I used to think that way. It's like, well, if someone's doing something similar and we'll just let's see how they do it. I don't feel that anymore. And I actually go out of my way not to show work that I think is being copied. Just because I've seen it too much. And influence is one thing. We're all influenced, right? I'm making pixel art. Would I have made pixel art if I never came to the scene? No. Right? And so we're all influenced, but you have to make it your own. And just finally on this point, there's no reason not to make it your own, because as I say here, we're just scratching the surface. There are so many different ways of being creative. It's almost paralyzing. So there's no reason to be, not to be doing your own thing, is sort of my take. Continuing on. Yuri J, second account, Winterball. Just a beautiful painting by Yuri J here. Again, signature mosaic filter here. Beautiful color. Kind of looks like a net in winter, doesn't it? Winterball. That is probably what it is. So what happened here? 79 Tezos at auction, so pretty good. Remember Yuri J season, this would have probably went for 400 Tezos, so it's always good to check in with artists when things cool off a bit. Here's one going for 400 Tezos. This is also Yuri J with Vidal Herrera. I think a collab here. So interesting work here, and kind of looks like an abstract. I think Calliope, that would be, I guess these are maybe Greek words, or Calliope sounds like a Greek god. Melpomene, not sure what that means. Kind of looks like Greek. So again, kind of nice abstract here, I think. And here, Euterpe, also Vidal Herrera and Yuri J. So interesting. Kind of looks representational there, though. You see a little chair and a piano. Maybe, I guess it's the nature of the collab, right? So in that piano, yeah, that kind of looks like the Yuri J part. I think we see the Yuri J part over here, too. Hilarious. Beautiful. Nice little series here. This was cool, too. This was posted in the community. Nice piece here. Playing, I think it's, kind of an interesting, almost a genre we're seeing, which is AI, collage and digital painting. Digital collage of photographed and AI textures. Digital compression and color applied, and I guess that is our compression here. Edition of 7, and 4 sold only at 30 cents. So selling it for very low price. Maybe a new person, let me make sure I'm following them, give Oblivion Fields a follow there. Also, this was awesome. This was Uxine, just OS being the title here. And there's our Monopoly guy, interestingly, in the almost looks like a collab, but not sure. And so you see some operating system windows, and here, just beautifully executed as ever. Look at these gorgeous outlines of horses. So just posted on X, so maybe a preview. Gozo, Signals. Let me get the maximize. So another kind of surreal landscape here from Gozo, again, using AI. Animated digital collage by Gozo, also with some AI in it. Beautiful work, beautiful color here too. That is edition of 20 for 20 Tezos, and looking like it is almost gone. 2 left. Nice sale. Here is Kanik Zapata. Yuri J picking this one up for only 30 Tezos here. Art collector showing his old Jody's SOD. So very cool work here from Kanik Zapata. We got a few, just amazing textures. Even I like the animation there too. Collector showing his collection of digital art. So this series is awesome. Of course, I follow Kanik Zapata, and here's another one, art collector on the phone. So again, we see, I think it's this Python script, the same script that we see using in the anime of the anime characters. We see the same triangles seemingly, so maybe using that similar script. This one was pretty nice, only 30 Tezos, edition of 1. Collector showing her digital art collection. Pretty rad work here from Kanik Zapata. Beautiful and so original. These, textures in like the fills, so to speak, and then even these beautifully kind of textured, pixelated edges, and interestingly animated. Only 30 Tezos. Wish I had 30 Tezos in my wallet. Here's Nicholas Dietrich, Hypogeum. Science teaches us that the physical world is the only reality. So, more beautiful work here. Love this purple tree here, if you can see that, and all sorts of modern kind of like not traffic light, but lights you'd find in a parking lot, and these towers in the background, and beautifully divided up, and everything. Interesting kind of area on the right hand side. I always think of Dakiriko, and they always feel like canvases. They're beautiful compositions, I might add. overall. Incredibly poetic work. This is an edition of 20, and this is sold out. Nice work at 5 Tezos. Great work. Here's Fragments, also known as Figments, also known as Cap'n, edition of 1. 75 Tezos. And here we see on-chain Tezos art using 2 colors. Beautiful work, selling again for 75 Tezos. Spaceport, love the title. Here is Tornado Rodriguez Potion. More on-chain art, so very cool work with the spider web. Kind of looks like using Object 98, I assume. PNG stored on chain, 281 by 280, 7 kilobytes, done using MS Paint 98. Edition of 1, and an offer coming in but not selling yet. Right Click Dead, also known as Brain Dead. This is on Rodeo. So this is 129 minted. It's about $20. Cool work here on Rodeo from Brain Dead, pixel artwork. Here is Gogolitis, shaking things up, 978 minted here. First work on Rodeo, just a cool abstract, so nice work there, but $170. This was awesome. Glad to see these back. Super Mario Brothers by Gogolitis, edition of, is this open edition? So 65 sold, and now at 9 Tezos, I picked one up. This is awesome. So we saw this before with Zelda. Now Super Mario Brothers getting the Gogolitis treatment, a pastiche. And this was awesome too. This work here. Again, you could just mine these. In a sense, I do this with Load Runner and whatever. Like, you could just mine these video games, for endless scenes, so to speak. This is a beautiful composition here too. Love this one. Look at how well it's doing. 169 retweets. So definitely getting some attention. How much does this got? 335. So resonating with the public. Interestingly, let's continue. Renato Mariani. This is a cool work here too. Another pixel art work. Cleaner, kind of an edgy one. Kind of looks like blood in some sort of virtual kind of room here. A couple of screens, one on the ground, mop. Pretty cool work I love the color and everything. 15 Tezos, edition of 10. And yeah, that's Renato Marini. Here is Haiti Rocket, Too Cool for Your Low Memory, edition of 1. So Max Headroom is back. Pleased to see. So Haiti Rocket has some classic works of Max Headroom. I believe that's Max Headroom. Here is Cap'n on Rodeo, Cowboy 11. Beautiful color here. Awesome pixel artwork. And continuing with the cowboy in these kind of beautiful landscapes. Look at that sun. Look at that gorgeous sun. It almost looks physical, the textures there. Sensational. And then contrasting so hard with the still landscape at the bottom. Here's Estelle Flores, who actually, I think I brought up later. I picked up her, I'll show you in a second. Let's look at this. This is a new one by Estelle Flores. So interesting processing here. A little bit of text. Who are you? Boot 1, edition of 16, open edition, and selling for $333, 16 minted so far. I have another one coming up. One that I picked up, People at Tezos. We'll see that. Here's Element Lee, ZUW. So kind of an abstract here. Element, if this was the first work you'd ever seen from Element Lee and there was one post by Element Lee, you might be like, I'm not sure if this is how great this is. But because of the track record and consistent posting that Element Lee has done, you see this and you go, wow, what's Element Lee up to here? You start to really take it seriously, and it's really cool because it's really cool work and only 150 pixels. You don't even know what it is. Is it representational or abstract? Here's a beautiful work, Burning Walls of Salamis by mech.txt, Michael Micasso. And again, kind of that Ultima 4 kind of tile vibe here, but done with a 2x1, kind of making it their own, making it his own with kind of 2x1 pixel here, as we see in the fire and the columns, and this beautiful contrast of the hard blue sky. And you kind of see the Ultima style grass in the background and everything. Beautiful work, kind of ancient Greek sort of feel. I picked one up and open edition. Here's E-Boy. Classic, a foot on the Lego. So anybody that's grew up with Lego, and even looks like a little face screaming here, hilariously. Let's continue. That is on Instagram. Here is Sebas Estaro. I found a giant. And this is an illustration, another kind of psychological, surreal illustration from Sebas Estaro. Nice piece here. This is on Object. And look at selling, almost sold out at 7 Tezos. This is great. Groove Streets. You eat animal food, you become an animal. So not sure what that means, but kind of a Last Supper with pizza. And some maybe Grand Theft Auto characters at a Last Supper. So hilarious. Cool pastiche. From Groove Streets. Here's Vitek, cool animated abstract on X, and just posted. Here's Estelle Flores again. I picked up this work. This was from December 17th. I was surprised to see this available on the market for 60 Tezos, which I had in my wallet. So I was really happy. One of one from Estelle Flores doing her portrait, self-portrait. That was a steal. So anyways, thrilled to have it. Skamra, the Centaur. So some cool works. Look at Skamra. Look at these. Look at these textures here. What is this called? The Centaur. Stable diffusion. So again, using AI, selling for 35 Tezos. Nice sale, edition of one. This is also on X by Skamra, kind of forests. You see these awesome textures. There's a lot of AI that I'm starting to see. It's starting to take over the feed a little bit. Here, it kind of looks like a security camera, maybe someone breaking in. Again, these awesome textures here. Another one by Skamra, edition of 56, and for 99 cents. Maybe, is that an open edition? Nope, just edition of 56. So beautiful landscape here with, again, super interesting textures. This is Edward Visco. And here, kind of similar kind of vibe here. Textured AI, a little different, but you're starting to see more and more of these kind of choppy pixelation, aren't we? Kind of a Greek vibe. Almost looks like a modern kind of lounge with some Greek columns there. This is pretty cool. Ed Woods. So we do have a work by Ed Woods. Super Rainbow Tezos Road. I think this was burned, actually, but I saw it in the notifications, and I kind of loved it. I'm hoping a new version will come out. It has Mario, Rubik's Cubes, and Tezos. Pretty rad work. Here. Great textures too. So Ed Woods doing a little bit of 3D objects in Blender and post-editing done in After Effects. Wow. Here's Feels. And I'm going to keep this under an hour, so I got to speed up a bit. Here's Feels just on X. 177 retweets, so continues to do very well. Animated abstract on X. Here is X Mortal. Forest for the Trees, edition of 5. And yeah, just beautiful. Another landscape with analog video glitch. Beautiful color as ever. Nice little kind of layer on top there of colors. 2 sold and edition of 5. So I think this is sold out. Actually, maybe more, some transferred. Let's continue. This is 2 minutes. We don't have time to show the whole thing, but I can give a piece. Nebular and Geno and another wallet, anonymous wallet. Just give you a taste here. Very cool piece. Just give you a little scan. Pretty nice, isn't it? Very cool. Okay, so we should probably edition of 25 for 5 Tezos as we run through here. Dr. Version, Aqua Scarlet. So new work by Dr. Version here, another abstract, hard contrast here between the blue and the red, beautifully textured. Edition of 7 for 9 Tezos and 1 available. Renki, here's Bandai Tammy. I feel like this is, I wonder, this feels different to me. I'm not sure if the canvas size has changed, but something feels a little different. Maybe it's just the subject is larger. It all feels a little larger here. I'm not sure why. Edition of 1 and listed. A rare listing by Renki for 33 Tezos. Here's Salawaki. The New Underground, Salawaki's hiding place. And I assume this is AI. Kind of sounds like Boney M or something. I don't know if this is copyright, so I am just playing a little bit here and there. Definitely a Boney M kind of vibe on it. And there is Salawaki Underground. the new underground. So cool work there. I think edition of 20 on Object, I think. Sulkian, this is from November. I had this link bookmarked and I never got to it. Arpeggio of Darkness. I just love it. Since, I think this is AI, Sulkian out of Buenos Aires, I think, or at least Argentina. Awesome works with synths. Has some really classic work on top. If you go to Sulkian's page, we'll do this. We don't really have time, but maybe we'll make time. From oldest, yeah, we got a few. Yeah, like these are classic. Only 14 Tezos. These are classic. Some of these early synth works here, 20 Tezos. Pretty reasonable prices, because then there's only a few at the start. Neural Divine. So I think this is AI, some more kind of wild AI artwork here from Neural Divine. Here is NeoPixel. This is Neural Divine as well. Interesting combination, interesting textures, pretty wild. And speaking of wild, no hygiene. Almost looks like a Zoom call, doesn't it? With the angels and the cats and everything. This is an edition of 1, 30 Tezos. Another wild work, 222 edition of 1. This is also on Tezos, and this is only 10 Tezos. If you want a 1 of 1, no hygiene. Here's Mr. Bizold, or John, I think, Bizold, Virtus. So put a whole series on, I think, the Tesla robot. So as you see here, and then putting basically a pastiche in a 18th century looking painting. Cool work there in Unlisted, 1 of 1. Here's Mikey Wilson, Sesh. I don't think we've looked at this one. And AI artwork here, looking like playing on the blues theme maybe, but maybe not. AI-assisted image with Midjourney, maybe just Session. But often doing blues guitarists. As we move into the physicals here, Bondoso Bandido, really interesting. You see the brush. What I want to highlight here, see the underneath, very, Siri is getting triggered here. Very interesting. I've never seen Bondoso Bandido. When you work this much, as they do, you really start to make breakthroughs all the time. So as you see, this is just awesome. Really rad artist. This was interesting too. Michael Pybus, flat pack. So I think a homage to David Hockney here with the sprinklers. I think we saw Zozo do a homage to Hockney here, but maybe adding a video game element here in the front with the head. So a pastiche. Kate Mary Art, beautiful work here. 457 likes, doing very well on Instagram. Very impressive. And that is your show, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you on Wednesday with Absurdity. Thanks for all the support. Until next time, take care.